and welcome to Logan Sounds Off, where I talk about books, music, and a whole lot more. I'm your host, Logan Kelly. Hello and welcome back to Logan Sounds Off, and today I'm doing a book review on 3 books, the first of which, Skulduggery Pleasant Until the End, the second, The Recruit by Robert Muchamore from the Cherub series, and Alice in the Wonderland by Lewis Caroll. So the first book I'm going to talk about is the 15th Skulduggery Pleasant called Until the End, which is the final book in the second cycle, I believe, and I love Skulduggery Pleasant. I've been reading them for a year now. I started last summer and I have loved reading them. They're very entertaining and they're very funny. And number 15 though, they got pretty grim when they went along, but in a cool kind of way. And I found this book very intense. And I was talking to people about the book and they were saying, "Oh, did you hear about that final cliffhanger and the end of the book?" And they were talking about how good it was. And I've noticed that there's a lot of people in the community reacting very well to this, in the Skulduggery Pleasant community. And I was talking to a lot of them, and they were talking about this book. So as I was saying about the cliffhangers, there was a lot of them, and there was very intense kind of cliffhangers, and like some of the chapters could have been like just one word, or there was just multiple words spread across the page. That it was very intense. It was quite hard to get into your system, but I really loved this book. It was very, very gripping now. I could definitely feel very good reading this book, but I could see what was happening. The description in this book was amazing. I really liked that book because of that. And a lot of the Skulduggery Pleasants are the exact same. And this is Until the End by far is my favourite book, even though it's the last. And it was a stunning conclusion to the second cycle. The end of the first cycle was The Dying of the Light, which was a brilliant book, and Until the End was a brilliant book. So I was very happy with Derek Landy's last book, because Dead or Alive, in my opinion, wasn't the greatest, but Until the End definitely was a massive comeback for me. And so Skulduggery Pleasant Until the End, 10 out of 10. I really love this series. I've done some other book reviews on the Skulduggery Pleasant books, so check out whatever, if you're using YouTube or Spotify or Google Podcasts, check out the other reviews, and definitely start collecting or start taking them out of your local library, because they're amazing books, really good books, and I'm collecting them now, and loads of other people are too. And check if you have an older brother or sister, do they have them, because there's like 5 million copies of the first book, and that was released like 10 more than 10 years ago, so it's a very popular book. The next one is again a very famous series, and I got the recommendation for this in Tertulia, and I also got a recommendation for this book by a teacher in my school. And this book is called The Recruit by Robert Muchamore, and this is part of the Cherub series. So Cherub is kind of like this agency, like MI8 for kids. It's a very imaginative book. It's definitely not for younger readers. It actually says on the back of every single Cherub book, not for younger readers, because it does have a lot of inappropriate content and mature content in it. But I read it and I loved it. Just it didn't need to be so inappropriate at parts. I felt that they could have used different methods, or Robert could have used different methods to write that book. But then again, this book was about, that bad stuff does happen. But I really enjoyed it overall. I read it multiple times. Like, I bought this in a bookshop, and I literally read this so many times. And next time I go back to that bookshop, I'll thank whoever sold it to me for giving it to me, because it was a brilliant book. It was actually amazing. It was like very interesting, but at the same time, it was at parts, it did go very fast, the storyline. I didn't really like that as much as I would have thought earlier when I was reading the earlier in the book. It did go very fast, and I think it was very funny, the personality of the main character, who is James Choke, also known as James Adams, for those who have read the full 17 books from season 1 and season 2. And James Choke is literally a couch potato. So I found that kind of interesting, from a couch potato to like a spy who stops a whole disease thing. You'll know about it when you read the book. Amazing book. When you read that, it kind of moves on very quickly. If they split it into 2 books and they made it longer, I think it would be very good, because the first half was like training, and then the second half was a mission. So if they split it into just training as a book, I think that will be a very good book. And then also it will be quite good for the mission, because I felt the mission kind of went quite quick, and that it moved along very quickly. And I wish it kind of had a bit more description. But I did love some of the details. They were amazing. Like Robert Muchamore, he described lots of things while making this book and describing everything in the book. So awesome introduction to Cherub season 1. The recruit is probably around 12 plus, but the next couple of books you might want to wait till you're 13 or 14, because the next book is quite inappropriate. But the recruit isn't as inappropriate. But definitely stunning introduction to Cherub season 1. And unfortunately, though, this series has finished up now. The final installment was New Guard in season 2, and that was book 5 of season 2. And now that's out now for you to buy. So the next book I'm talking about is called Alice in the Wonderland, or Alice's Adventures in the Wonderland, and Through the Looking Glass. So you can pick this up everywhere. It's a very famous book, a classic. So this was a very good book. I was quite surprised. I bought this because I had watched the movie and I went, wow, that was a very good movie. And I loved it because it was slightly funny, and then the cat in it was slightly creepy. That I liked the way Lewis Carroll mixed all these feelings, and then Alice was such a peculiar character, as in a 7-year-old who hops in a bunny hole and gets into this world where she falls down a big hole where everything's upside down and everything. And I just loved the idea. It's a very easily understood book. So people might put this under the Old English section, but there's not much Old English in it. It has the Jabberwocky, which is an amazing poem in it, and totally, even if you don't understand it, it's a very interesting poem inside the book. But that's about the most Old English part of it. But it seems pretty modern kind of text in it. It's you can feel it's kind of older though when you're reading it, but I kind of like that. So totally pick this up. It was very imaginative. So Lewis Carroll, he wrote the 2 books, Alice's Adventures in the Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. These were both very interesting books. I felt Alice's Adventures in the Wonderland was better than the second book, the little sequel. Although Alice's Adventures in the Wonderland, the movie, is both of them connected. And then the Tim Burton version is about 19-year-old Alice, which I haven't watched, and it's split into 2 parts. So, very imaginative, as I was saying, but the ideas from it were very good. And then I've noticed after reading it, whenever I see a checkerboard, what immediately comes into my mind, it's the checkerboard field taken from Alice and Through the Looking Glass. And I can always imagine the field with the Queen and Alice talking in it, that it's checkerboard-like. And I just found it was a very interesting book. I would definitely recommend it. It is for all ages. There is nothing inappropriate in it, except the fact that it's Old English at parts, so it might be difficult for a 7-year-old to understand. For a 10-year-old to read it like me, it's very interesting, and it's a very good book actually. And I would love to see more books like this, because a lot of books now aren't as imaginative, and that's why I love Skulduggery Pleasant and The Recruit that I was reviewing today. So that was definitely a solid 9 out of 10. So for Alice's Adventures in the Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass, 9 out of 10. The Recruit from Cherub by Robert Muchamore, 8 out of 10, for the simple reason that it didn't have to be so inappropriate, and that I wish it was a longer book. And then Skulduggery Pleasant until the end, 10 out of 10, because it was just amazing, so imaginative. I really liked the text, the comedy, the humour. I just really, really love this book, and I can't wait to see what Derek Landy is releasing next. So I hope you enjoyed this little radio show, and see you in the next one. Bye! I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode of Logan Sounds Off. You can follow me on X, Facebook and Instagram at Logan Sounds Off. And don't forget to subscribe and not miss any more cool episodes. Bye guys!